Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us for this edition of SBB University. I am your moderator today and the publisher of Seniors Blue Book, Amanda Barton. Really excited to bring on this dynamic group of ladies with me today. Some of my most favorite advertising partners. We have Cynthia Perthews, who's with us from Senior Care Authority. Cynthia, how are you this morning?
I'm great. Thank you. Thanks for including me in this group.
Absolutely. We have Miss Patti Nanney, who's joining us from WayForth. How are you this morning?
Good morning. It's great to see you guys. You look beautiful today.
Oh, thank you. And last but certainly not least, we have Miss Joanne Jeffries, who is an elder law attorney right here in Collier County. How are you this morning?
Great. Thank you so much for inviting me, Amanda, and I look forward to speaking with you ladies this morning.
Absolutely. I think that you have so much amazing content to share with us, and I can't wait to get started. But first, I want our viewers to learn a little bit about each of you individually. So we're going to start with you, Miss Cynthia. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your background and what led you to this franchise, because it has a mission and something that's very important to you over at Senior Care Authority.
Sure. So I'm a baby boomer. And so like all the other baby boomers, I was also the sandwich generation. And I worked with my parents. I come from 30 years on Wall Street, and I lived in New York City, and my parents lived in Texas. And so while I was flying around the world doing business, my parents were getting sick and declining. My father had Alzheimer's, my mother had Parkinson's, and I went through that struggle with them. And when they eventually passed away, my other baby boomer friends would call me on the phone and say, "What did you do for your dad? And how do I know if I need this for my mom?" And I, as a business person, I thought, there's a business here. So I left, I did a lot of research. I found Senior Care Authority, which I love with all of my heart, for giving me this opportunity to help people. I am their largest franchise holder, and I have the franchise rights in New York City, as well as in Southwest Florida. And that means that I work with a lot of snowbirds back and forth, but I also have a team that works with me in New York and a team that works with me in Florida. So today I'm sitting in Naples, but next week I'll be sitting in New York City for a week.
Yeah.
And I've just finally gotten to venture back into there. But what we do is we do a number of things, one of which, and our bread and butter, is that we place people and help them find the exact right place for themselves or for their loved one where they can make one more move. Our job and our goal with our heart is to make sure that our clients are moving one more time and not going someplace and not liking it. And we help them with that. And then we help them find move managers. We help them find elder law attorneys. We help them find dog walkers. We help them find all the things that they need. And so that's what our bread and butter is. We do a number of other things, and I'll talk about those a little bit later.
Perfect. Yes, you do. And speaking of move managers, we'll bounce right over to Miss Patti. Patti, tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, and what brought you to this organization with WayForth as the managing director.
Thank you, Amanda. I absolutely love working with seniors. Our mission at WayForth is people helping people, and they live that mission day in and day out, from the CEO to our move managers to our movers, our administrative staff. I mean, every single person in this company is here because we care about people. I have been in corporate America and been a GM before, been a managing director before, and I retired from corporate America and went to work with the Red Cross. Just because I really felt like it was time for me to, use our powers for good, as they say, and really make a difference in people's lives, and really plug into a cause and plug into meaningful work. And so I was with the Red Cross for about 4 years, and Craig Shealy, who's the co-founder of WayForth, used to be my senior VP back in the day. Well, he's the CEO and co-founder of WayForth. And when he reached out to me, I said, no more evil corporate America for me. I'm in it for the good. And he's like, no, that's what we're here for. That's what we do. We're here to help, and we make a difference in people's lives. And the more I looked into it, it is the largest move management company in the United States, growing and expanding so quickly. So not only is it a job with a mission, it's a company with a future. And it's just being able to be a good manager. We're opening up Florida West. We've been operational for about 6 months. We stretched all the way in physical locations from Boston all the way down the eastern seacoast and rapidly expanding, west. It allows me to make a difference every day, and not only in our clients' lives, but by affording other people who care about people who need to go to work, a job that does the same thing, that allows our entire organization, people to join us and take care of people.
Yeah, absolutely, Patty. I couldn't agree more. It has an amazing mission, and I thank you so much for your partnership with Seniors Blue Book and what you do for the community. All right, again, Miss Joanne Jeffries, last but certainly not least, tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, and what started you to, what inspired you to open your own firm.
Okay, well, thank you, Amanda, again for inviting me. So I'm an elder law and estate planning attorney, and I've been practicing in this area close to 30 years, believe it or not. And I got into elder law when it was first beginning as a specialized area of the law a long time ago. And I've been in it ever since. I have office in New Jersey and an office in Naples, Florida. I'm admitted in New York and DC as well. I again concentrate in elder law and estate planning, and I am an adjunct professor of law at Ave Maria Law School, and I teach wills, trusts, and estates. And I've just been in this area forever. I am a baby boomer as well, and taking care of my 90-year-old mom now. My dad just recently passed away, and I have a child, a high schooler, so in the midst of it, and just was always loved the elderly. My grandmother lived with us as I was growing up, so I always wanted to kind of like gear my area of the law to that practice, and which I do and love. So
That's great.
Yeah,
I love getting to know all of you so well when I do these and talk about past lives and things that have made you who you are today. So it's wonderful to hear your stories. Thank you so much for sharing. All right, so we're going to start with our Q&A part of the SBB University. I think I'm going to start with Cynthia, because people, when they start looking, what are some of the things that you should do to start preparing for your move if you're thinking about moving into a senior living organization?
Well, some of you probably have heard me say this, but I'll give you a little brief thing that I try to help people understand right off the bat. And one of the questions I ask people is I say, do you know how to eat an elephant? And I get these blank stares and they say, no, they can't figure out why this person who's talking to them about their parents is asking about eating an elephant. And I tell them that you have to eat an elephant one bite at a time. And the elephant that we're going to eat, the buckets that we're going to try to solve for in this time of transition is where, when, and how. So what they really want to think about is, let's just think about where. Let's not think about grandmother's china and how we're going to move it. Let's not think about whether the sofa is going to fit in the assisted living community. Let's not worry about any of those things. Let's just figure out if something happened, when something happens, if a move had to be made, where would you go? And because I deal both in New York City and in Florida with people who don't end up living in New York City or in Florida, they have to figure out geographically, where are they going to live? Do they want to live with their children and close to their children? Do they want to live close to, which child do they want to live close to? Because sometimes they don't get along with all of them. Do they want to live close to the neighborhood where they used to live? Do they want to go back to some place where they have a lot of friends from their earlier life? That's the first thing you want to think about. Is let's just think about where. So that's what I try to get them to really boil down to, be mindful about, where would you like to live?
Yeah, definitely. You're absolutely right about that, because it can become so overwhelming when you're trying to make these decisions, and then they end up putting it off because of how overwhelmed they are. So speaking of being overwhelmed, where do I start other than eating your elephant?
What we want to think about is, with every one of my clients, I do about an hour-long intake, assessment, discovery, whatever you want to call it, coffee clatch, whatever you want to call it. I need to spend an hour with this family. I want to understand whether I'm talking to the adult children, or whether I'm talking to the actual person who's going to be a resident. And so what I want to know is I want to know who they are. So when you come into this part of your life, you need to figure out who you are. What do you like to do? What did you like to do? What do you wish you could do more of? We need to know, what are your medical conditions? So make sure that you're very honest and open about, you know what, I have trouble with my balance and I don't like using my walker. And I used to be a big pickleball player and now I just kind of walk around the lake. So just be really honest and know who you are, as well as what kind of people you want to be around. So you want to think about that. You really need to know yourself. And the second thing is, I really need to understand how much money you have and where that money is and how much you're going to spend, because there are places all over the map that could cost you anywhere from $1,800 a month to $35,000 a month.
Yeah.
And I need to understand, are you the $35,000 a month person? Are you the $1,800 a month person? Because I don't want to waste anybody's time. So you need to know those things about yourself.
Yeah. And even so, more so about not wasting time. You don't want to fall in love with something that you simply can't afford.
Right.
Then,
we've all done that, haven't we?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Now, speaking of finances, I'm going to bounce down to Joanne. How can I afford long-term care for the rest of my life? That's a big question that a lot of seniors are asking right now.
Okay, well, as Cynthia just mentioned, I mean, the costs vary widely. People are spending a lot on long-term care. So when we try to help people, we look at the big picture. And unlike traditional estate planning, we look at it holistically. So helping get that in place, that long-term care planning. So obviously, if people have long-term care insurance, that's wonderful. And I know some of your programs have had long-term care insurance people on there, and it's wonderful. And my clients that have long-term care insurance, it works great and it's wonderful. Unfortunately, not that many people have it. Hopefully more and more people will get long-term care insurance, but long-term care insurance is one way to pay. People pay privately, and until their money runs out, then they have to look at those options. So we do help people with Medicaid planning, long-term care planning, paying in skilled nursing facilities, paying in assisted living facilities. And New York, New Jersey, Florida, all the laws are different. Medicaid is a state and federal program. So sometimes what's good for New York may not be good for Florida, vice versa. So we have to come up with the best plan for the person. There's also benefits, from the government, VA benefits that a person can have and help with home care, aid in attendance. There's even long-term care facilities for veterans and veteran spouses. So there's quite a few different options. It's just managing, and like Cynthia said, navigating what's going to be best for the family.
Yeah, and I do believe that there are some documents that are absolutely essential that you need to have in place. And I have in my, my little question here before retirement, but really it's, at my age, you really should have these documents in place. So talk to me about some of those really key items that you have to have.
Okay, absolutely. Well, first we want to look at lifetime planning, right? So that our children can help us plan. So what happens, God forbid, if we become incapacitated? So we want to make sure that we have a good, durable power of attorney in place, so that somebody can assist you if you have a catastrophic illness or an event or dementia, and you can't make those decisions yourself. So you want to have a person who can step in your shoes and make those decisions with a good, durable power of attorney. Also, a good advance directive for healthcare, similar to the power of attorney, but for healthcare decision making. Want to make sure that's in place. Those are lifetime planning documents. We want to make sure people, of course, have wills in place for after deaths, for the orderly distribution of their estates, or a living trust, depending on if they have property in different states. So there's, absolutely a will or a living trust and a will, good durable power of attorney, good advance directive for healthcare, and hopefully they're almost like insurance. Hopefully you'll never need to use them.
Yeah.
but they're there just in case, because you're right. It happens to younger people. I've had clients that are in their late 40s, early 50s, have strokes or
Yeah.
have events, and they need somebody to act on their behalf. And if you don't have these documents, unfortunately, the court has to be involved. We have to have a guardianship involved, so that they're very important to have.
And we'll come back around again and talk about trust and guardianship for sure, because it is something a lot of times you want to try to avoid that guardianship at all costs. So,
And Amanda, can I ask Joanne a question here? A lot of times with my clients, the children will say, you know, we don't have a power of attorney, and at this point, their loved one, their parent, maybe has dementia, and so sometimes it can be too late to get it. Not just if you have a stroke, but sometimes it can just be too late because of capacity. But the other thing I hear, even with their parents that have capacity, they will say, oh, they don't want me to take their money. And they think if I get a power of attorney, I'm going to take their money. Is that something that you hear sometimes from your clients?
Sure, sure. We hear that, and yes, seniors are concerned with that. But what I try to explain to my clients is that this person that you've appointed obviously has to be somebody that you trust implicitly, because they do have access to your accounts, to your funds, but they're also a fiduciary. So they have a legal duty to act in your best interest and cannot self-deal. So there are some guidelines involved with that as well that kind of protects them. But if they have any qualms or any issues, or don't trust the person, then do not appoint them as your agent in a power of attorney. That's what I tell them. Yes.
no, I think it's even more important to go, because some people don't have someone they can trust. And there are organizations, care management organizations and things of that nature that you can actually hire to act on your behalf. I call them the daughter or son you never had. Especially
Absolutely.
if you have kids and you don't have someone in your life that you can trust like that. So
Yes.
food
Yes.
for thought there. Okay, Miss Patti Nanney. Now we've talked a lot about moving and getting your documents in order. So WayForth is actually more than just a move management company, but talk to me about what a move manager is.
A move manager is a professional that brings a multifaceted approach to someone's life transition. And I'm sure, my counterparts here have dealt with, as a senior, sometimes you want to age in place. So a move manager doesn't necessarily move you somewhere. They can help you age in place as well. So we are, all of our staff is trained, our move management staff is trained to specifically to deal with seniors, to deal with the seniors' families, because often when you're letting go of stuff and you're downsizing and reorganizing and moving, there's so much emotion that's built into that. And when you hire a move manager, you're hiring someone to help, put all the pieces in place, advise you, to be that trusted advisor, right? And because to the earlier point, sometimes our seniors feel as if their children are forcing them to get rid of things, and it can turn very quickly into it takes a very emotional situation, and it could take it south pretty quickly. Moving is the third most stressful event that you can have in your life. It's death, divorce, and moving. And so when you layer that into an environment with a senior that may be complicated by family or complicated by lack of family, we are the professional that comes in and helps sort through all of that with the primary interest of our client, number one.
Now you are that epitome of a transitional company, and you've talked about having them come in and do some of that downsizing. Talk to me a little bit about the most important benefits that you can have by hiring that move management organization.
We introduced ourselves. The mission of our company is people helping people. We help our clients have peace of mind. That's the number one thing. We'll come in and do, an initial consultation for free, of course, and line out whether they use our services or not. That we'll help them line out what they need to do. What are their next steps? Whether it be, starting with downsizing, or, choosing where they live, or measuring their furniture. Like, there are a lot of things. The elephant is real. there are a lot of things that need to be done. And our move managers go in, and well, our client experience managers go in, and which are part of move management team, and they'll look at the big picture. They'll create this plan, and then sit down with the client and their family, whoever's involved, and decide, what's the best fit and how to move forward. And if in the end we've given that client or their family enough security and an outline to move forward on their own, we just let them know, hey, we're here, if you need help. But they have that peace of mind because they know what they need to do.
Sure, absolutely. Now, speaking of eating the elephant again, we'll bounce it back up to Cynthia. Now, Cynthia, we've talked about the fact that a lot of folks that are looking in this area are also considering making a move back to their friends or family up north. This can be an extremely emotional decision. I think we've all kind of hit on some emotional topics today. Talk to me about making that decision. What's some of your advice? Also, here in beautiful Southwest Florida, we have hundreds of different options for senior living. How do you decide if you were to stay here? How do you decide which area is right for you?
Well, I do want to clarify a little bit in that my client, I have two different types of clients. One are the adult children, and the other is the actual potential resident someplace, their parent. And the parent, 9 times out of 10, is not considering moving back north. Let me just tell you, they love their children, but they love the sunshine and the water here. And so they will sit with me and say, whatever you do not let my daughter take me back to Detroit. So there's that piece of it. The children are usually, or the adult children are like, okay, I can't keep flying down here if there's problems. I want mom to be where I am. We kind of laughingly say that in Florida, on every corner is, especially in Naples, Florida, and Collier County, on every corner is a stock brokerage firm, a Publix grocery store, a 7-Eleven, and an assisted living community. There are dozens of places here. And so it also seems to be very much like a sport, pre-COVID and now post-COVID, where seniors can go get a free meal just about anywhere at an assisted living any day. And so they go around and they look and they look and they look. And sometimes by the time they talk to me, they've seen a dozen. They've had dinner or lunch at a dozen different places, and they're very, very confused. So we like to really help them understand that at this time of their life, they're looking for the best care. There's a lot of really pretty chandeliers out there, gorgeous, brand new places. And there's a bright, shiny penny all the time on a new corner. But it's about where you're going to get the best care, and you're going to get the best, again, where your peeps are, where your people are. People that you know, maybe you're looking for some place where you have some friends who've already moved into an assisted living, or maybe you have a certain religion that you like to practice, and you know that this one is more, maybe has more people that practice your religion, or the type of activities that you like to do. Maybe this place has those activities. So that's something else that we try to do in this discovery, is find out what fits you here in Florida. And again, we can help if your daughter really finally convinces you to come back north for the winter. We can help you do that too. But it's funny that I hear it all the time. Please don't let her take me. Please don't let her move me back. We love Florida. So.
Yeah, and that brings me to another one of my questions. What if you do move into a community, either here or there, and then change your mind and you want to go back? Do you end up losing the money that you've invested in that organization?
Well, it depends. So there are a couple of different types of models, and to simplify it, there's a buy-in model, whether it's buying real estate or buying into a membership, and there's a rental model. If you buy in a buy-in model, there comes a certain point along that progression that you do lose, that money is forfeited back into that community. On a rental side, there's a community fee that you pay that is anywhere from, a few $1,000s, less than $5,000 is a community fee. That money you do forfeit if you decide to move out the next day. Maybe they would make a deal with you, but if you move out within a couple of weeks, you forfeit that community fee. That community fee is there to set up your name tags and your dietary things, and to have the nurses come and visit with you, to do the cleaning and getting the make ready into the place where you move. But you do sign a 1-year lease in a rental. But that 1-year lease is to protect you from price increases. If you go in and you decide that you don't want to stay there, you can give 30 days notice and you can move. And so it's not a lease per se. Now with independent living, it is a lease and you have to give a little bit more notice. However, if you're in independent living, or even if you're just renting an apartment in the city, if there's some reason medically that you need to move, the law is that you can move and you can get out of that lease if you need to move. So in those examples, there's a minimal amount of money that you may forfeit if you get in there and decide you don't like it. But again, 9 out of 10 of my clients who say, I'm just going to try it for a month, they don't leave because they love it.
Yeah.
Because it's so invigorating for them.
Yes. Of course, please, Joanne.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to add in to what Cynthia's saying. We look at a lot of CCRC contracts and a lot of contracts like that. And CCRCs, or continuing care retirement communities, really seem to be popping up in Southwest Florida here. And there's a few that aren't even built yet that are almost at full capacity. And I think it's important when you're dealing with a client and their family, their adult children, is managing those expectations of what type and what level of care they're going to get in each situation. Because I see people when they come in and said, oh, mom went to this assisted living facility and she's not getting the care that they promised, or we thought that she would be have somebody with her all the time and it's not, and they want us to get somebody to assist her. So really, that initial decision is so important, and managing the proper expectation and working with a company that you'll know, and having, like we said, the documents in place so that you have the authority to get all the information and work with somebody, and being those people, even possibly being your ears and your eyes if you're in a different state, becomes very important. Because I see that a lot after a person's place, the family is unhappy, or they come in and they said, well, we didn't think it was going to be like this. They promised us this and this. And, so,
And you're exactly right, Joanne. It's about managing the expectations, because we will have clients who will say to us, what's the best place? What's the best place here that I can move? And we say, you know what, best for you and best for me are different. Right. And then they try to go around that, and they say, well, where would you put your mother? Where would you want to move your mother? And I say, I'm not showing you any place that I wouldn't move my mother. Right. However, it has to do with who that person is. And I also will help them understand that while we know these communities in and out, for every person that loves a community, there's a person that hates the community. Right. I always believe that it goes back to their expectations 100%. And what happened. And so we try to help them understand, let's help manage your expectations. We're going to show you a comparison, and we want to help you understand that they've told you that someone will be with your loved one 24/7. That is not right. They will not be there in an assisted living 24/7. We help manage their expectations.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. And I think Patti can almost jump in there and talk a little bit too about when they're helping people make the decision to transition into a community, if that's what they choose to do. They go in and they help with floor plan organization and making sure that everyone is aware of, what their apartments are going to look like. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Patti?
Absolutely, because it is 100% about managing expectations. And as professionals, we consider it our responsibility to set the right expectations. We work with the senior living communities. We have their floor plans. We don't just have their floor plans. Our client experience managers go out and measure the client specific unit, because if there's an odd corner or the air conditioning unit is a little bit different, that 2 inches may make the difference between, their antique, that they've had in their family for 200 years, hutch, fitting or not fitting. Or the same thing with the couch, is it a queen size bed or a king size bed? So what we do is we sit down with our clients and have, it's a floorboard, it's a oversized replication of their specific apartment to the inch. And we measure all of their furniture with little replicas, magnet replicas of their furniture. And we look at it not just for what's going to fit, but what is safe. How are they ambulating? We look at it holistically from the top down, and they know every step of the way what's going in those boxes, what's going to go into their new home, or what's going to go to donation, what's going to go to auction, what's going to go to their, their daughter in New York and their, son in Colorado. We really pride ourselves in lining things out. I kind of laughed with the where, when, and how, because we do a who, what, where, when, how. And we have an entire system, because it's a very complex, on the front end, it's a very complex decision. For overall, it's a very, complex matter, but the actual doing of it can be very complex as well. And it's our job to take all of the stress and the fear of the unknown out of it, to where when they walk in, they really feel like they're at home. Talking about, moving into assisted living, one of the best stories that I've seen so far, personally in Southwest Florida, was one of our clients was living independently in a 2-bedroom apartment, and had fallen a couple of times. And as everybody on this panel knows, it takes more than one fall to get him to go to assisted living. She'd fallen several times. And so her son and daughter-in-law had finally convinced her to go to an assisted living in the community that we work with. And our project managers work with the son, the daughter-in-law, both, made sure everything was lined out, every expectation was lined out. And our project manager is in charge of everything, where all of their possessions are end to end in our care and control. We have our own move managers, but our own movers as well. So everything is taken care of by WayForth team members. So she had her plates arranged, the antique plates arranged in her kitchen. And of course, she went to a smaller area with like just a little teeny tiny kitchenette, because they really don't want them to cook. And then her dresser on her bedside table were 1,000 little tchotchkes. And our project managers took pictures and then wrapped each section separately and labeled it. And then when we got to her assisted living, took everything out and rearranged the plates exactly and hung the plates exactly as they were, put her little tchotchkes exactly as they were. And when she walked into assisted living for the first time at 90, was a big change for her. She was very resistant. And when she walked in, she started crying. Everyone in the room started crying, because she was happy. Yeah. She was happy. And that's what we bring. It's setting expectations. It's making sure things fit. It's making sure everybody knows what the plan is.
That's a wonderful story. I love hearing stories like that. I've got a few of my own, but they are not for this panel. Being in this industry has just been so incredibly special to me. I think that our senior population has touched each and every one of us in some way, shape, or form. All right, Joanne, I know we want to go over wills and trusts. I really want to talk to you about avoiding the guardianship, making sure that we have all of our ducks in a row so our family is not left, cleaning all of that up. So when you're getting ready to go into senior living, probably every couple of years, maybe every 5 years, you need to update your documents. So talk to me a little bit about, can I change my trust once one's created? How do I avoid guardianship? Some of those key thoughts that you have as an elder law attorney.
Okay. Well, Cynthia kind of mentioned too, like what happens if a person has dementia, and at this point it's, too late to sign those legal documents. What do we do now when we have to try to get mom into senior living, or, in one state or a different state, and things like that. So if you have waited and now your parent doesn't have the capacity to sign a legal document, you really don't have an option other than to become their legal guardian and to go to a court and get appointed by the court, and your parent will have to be declared incapacitated, unable to manage their person and their affairs. And this, of course, is more costly than just preparing a legal document like a durable power of attorney. So hopefully, people don't wait that long and can avoid a guardianship, because too, with guardianships, I have a lot of clients that they are their parents guardian in Florida, and now they want to move back to New York or New Jersey. And what do we do with the guardianship? We have to change that guardianship to a different state. So it's a process that's involved. So it becomes a big legal issue and costly and a bigger production. Again, having those documents in place would avoid that. A living trust is a great idea too for multi-state people that have property in different states. Again, it enables us to avoid probate in those different states. So having a good revocable living trust will avoid probate, and it'll also provide for management of assets. So in addition to having the person that's the durable power of attorney or agent, you would have a successor trustee, and they would be able to help you manage the finances. So it's good transitionally as well, especially for a single person, a single person or a surviving spouse.
Joanne, talk to me about the difference between a revocable and an irrevocable trust, because that's always something that's very confusing when folks are trying to plan for potentially going through the Medicaid process.
Okay, thank you. Good question. So when we talk about a living trust or a revocable living trust, it's revocable or revocable. We say assets could go in, assets could go out, and we can change things. And that really offers no protection for Medicaid planning or creditors or anything like that. It's just a different form to hold your assets and for management of assets. And it's a great thing, revocable living trust, but it's not going to protect your assets in the event you need long-term care. The way to do that is through an irrevocable trust, which means once it's done, it can't be changed. So that is a little bit more intense because, again, you're not going to be able to change your mind and take those assets out, although sometimes there's some little escape clauses that we can utilize. But people do that to protect their assets for Medicaid planning. And as I'm sure all of you know, and we've heard this now for years and years, there is a look back period for Medicaid planning purposes, and there's there's a lot of different strategies that people can use to protect the assets, and a trust is one of them, an irrevocable trust. So you just have to be careful. People also do irrevocable trusts for tax planning purposes. We do it, for taxes as well. But again, once an irrevocable trust is done, it can't be changed.
Okay, that's really important. I don't think a lot of people are educated on that process, and they go into something blindly without realizing that they may have locked up their assets, for example.
And I have another question for Joanne, or another thing that I see in my business that comes out of your world, is that sometimes the adult children will come to me and they're having trouble because mom or dad said, I'm not moving to assisted living, I'm not moving. And the adult children come to me and they say, it doesn't matter what they want, I have the power of attorney, I can tell them what to do. And I have to explain to them that a power of attorney does not give them complete control, like a guardianship might in this situation, complete control, that their parents are autonomous human beings that have a choice. And that while they may not think that's the best choice, their power of attorney does not allow them to just take their parents someplace that their parents don't want to go. But I hear that very regularly, where I feel like I have to educate them on a power of attorney doesn't give you control over where they're going to live.
Exactly. Only if they became incapacitated and couldn't make that decision for themselves. So yes, that's true. And you do see a lot of that fighting sometimes between families, unfortunately. But yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw that a lot in my day as well. And the parents don't really realize that that doesn't mean that their kids can't move them in. And I think they get away with it a lot of times.
Well,
so, even if it's what's best for them, I think obviously the children have that, their best interest at heart. But well, this has been a very interesting, dynamic panel. Ladies, I truly appreciate your time this morning. Thank you for your partnership with Seniors Blue Book. Thank you for being a source of education in Southwest Florida. And thank you for your time.